Moving on to updates from Sudan now, where as parallel governments by the two rival factions are taking shape, the battle on the ground is also intensifying. In the latest, reports say that the Sudanese paramilitary RSF has killed more than 200 people in a 3-day assault in the south of Khartoum. These attacks were in the White Nile state villages of Al-Kadaris and Al-Khelwat. The army-backed government has put the death toll at more than double that figure. The army says that 433 people have been killed, including children. The RSF massacre and the killings have been reported by the Emergency Lawyers Network, which has documented human rights abuses in nearly 2 years of the brutal civil war. Between the army headed by General Al-Burhan and the RSF headed by Hamdan Dagalo, the network claims hundreds more were wounded or missing and feared drowned after the RSF opened fire on villages as they attempted to flee across the White Nile. They also claim that the RSF fighters had subjected unarmed civilians to executions, kidnappings and looting. The White Nile state extends from just south of Khartoum to the South Sudanese border. It is currently divided by the warring parties. The army controls the south, including the state capital of Rabat, as well as 2 major cities and a key military base. The RSF holds northern parts of the state, including the villages that were attacked. Last week, the RSF attacked famine-stricken camps in the Darfur region. The survivors of the attack claim the RSF had turned the site into a killing field, with bombs falling on houses and bodies on the streets. The Zamzam camp, which is home to between 500,000 to 1 million people, is witnessing an exodus with displaced Sudanese fleeing again after the RSF offensive. Satellite imagery shows heavy damage and entire buildings razed to the east of the camp, where the RSF claimed had clashed with the army allied groups. The RSF claims that it had liberated the displaced people from the Zamzam camp, which had been turned into a military base by the joint forces. Since the war began in April of 2023, the camp had received a wave of displaced people from Sudan's vast Darfur region, most of which is under the control of the RSF. Both the Sudan Army and the RSF have been accused of war crimes. The paramilitary RSF has also been accused of genocide by the United States. The brutal war in Sudan has reportedly killed 150,000 people, displaced over 12 million, put at least 8 million on the brink of starvation, and nearly 25 million, which is around half of Sudan's population, suffer dire food insecurity. Fighting has intensified across Sudan in recent weeks, as the army pushes to reclaim full control of the capital Khartoum from the RSF. The paramilitary has also intensified attacks on the North Darfur state capital Al-Fashir, the only major city in Darfur it does not control.
We're calling the show Vantage. We hope you like what we put together for you. Touted as the minimum defense from that video. India's neighbors were the first to send the special edition of Vantage live from the White House throughout this week. Yes, Hindu Mandir we're on our way to Tel Aviv. Pretty measure, but it's also the perfect way to drive.
I don't think
Prime Minister of Bhutan, Sherin Tagwe. Welcome to
60% of the world's
office. Prime Minister Modi did the iron.
We were actually
How are you doing? How do you like? It's been 1 year since that meeting. Iron bars separate you from the outside. Out the vote effort. Trump had, it says, and at $4.3 trillion. 4.3 300 billion by 2030. That's what we need to tackle climate change.